So the Firearm Iceberg. It covers firearms. And we all know what an iceberg is. I'm not going to make this political. And that's it. I don't have anything else to say. AK-47. Designed by Mikhail Kalashnikov, it is a 7.62 by 39 assault rifle. The rifle is gas-operated and renowned for its extraordinary reliability. The key to said reliability is its simplicity. Dozens upon dozens of these firearms have been made. It has made one of the most recognizable firearms in the world. You may even have one of the many variants of the Kalashnikov. What else do I have to say about this rifle? M16. The M16 is a 5.56 chambered assault rifle designed by Eugene Stoner and James Sullivan. Like the AK-47, it is gas operated, first introduced in the U.S. Army during the Vietnam War. The M16 had an extremely rocky start with horrendous reliability and a tendency to explode. Although later iterations fixed the many problems the M16 had. The M203 is a 40mm underbarrel grenade launcher that could be attached to the M16. You've probably seen it used in cinema and video games. It's almost as recognizable as the AK-47. Glock. The series first started with the Glock 17 when Gustav Glock built a semi-automatic pistol when chambered 9mm from the ground up. Its popularity began with the Austrian military wanted to replace their outdated Walther P-38s. The Glock was tested and accepted into the military. It is seen used by countries, police forces, and citizens around the world, and rightfully so. It is also recognized as being a robust pistol. The Glock has seen variants that have improved upon the design. Like every other gun, so far it is recognizable. M1 Garand. The iconic rifle is a 30-06 semi-automatic firearm that first saw service in the Second World War. It was renowned for its reliability and saw service in the Vietnam and Korean Wars. Its most iconic feature is its 8-round en-bloc clip, which, when ejected, makes a very satisfying ping. John Moses Browning. Being one of the most iconic and influential figures in firearm history, born in 1855 in Utah, he was the son of Jonathan Browning, another firearms designer. He is most known for making the Colt in 1911, another extremely famous pistol. His other designs include the BAR, the M1919, and the M2 machine gun. Fun fact. He developed the 50 BMG cartridge for the M2, and BMG stands for Browning Machine Gun. M1911. On the topic of John Moses Browning, the M1911 is a 45 ACP chambered pistol known to be very dependable. It was first introduced in the U.S. military in the spring of 1911 and has been in service ever since then. It holds 8 rounds with 1 in the chamber, is recoil operated and single action. We have all used it in video games and have seen it in Hollywood. AR-15, possibly one of the most controversial firearms in America right now. The rifle is more of a platform than a single gun. Commonly chambered in 5.56, the platform is extremely flexible with a huge market of afterparts. It is used by civilians as a sporting rifle or a home defense tool. We have all probably shot one or own one. Mikhail Kalashnikov. As mentioned earlier, Mikhail is the designer of the original AK-47. Born in 1919 in communist Russia, he served in the military and was wounded in combat. While getting treatment for said injury, he overheard some soldiers complaining about the bad reliability of their current service weapons. Mikhail became determined to create reliable weapons for the Russian military. He created a submachine gun, but it wasn't accepted into military service. Although his automatic Kalashnikov or AK-47 design did prove to be worthy of military service. To the success of the AK, he worked on later iterations, like the AKM or the AK-74. It is said that every 1 in 5 firearms are a Kalashnikov rifle of some sort. Sadly, he passed away in 2013. Cursed gun images. A cursed gun image speaks for itself. You take a gun and make it cursed. Later in this iceberg, we will take a look at some real-life cursed gun images. Some of these are just painful to look at. Colibri. The Colibri is known to be one of the world's smallest production centerfire pistols. It is chambered in the extremely small 2.7mm Colibri cartridge. The pistol is only had the power somewhat equivalent to a BB gun. Designed by Francois Pifano, I probably butchered that name. Only about 1,000 were ever made. Most of them were probably destroyed during World War I. Today, you may be able to buy small guns like this one. Gatling gun. The Gatling gun is a multi-barreled, crank-operated, quote, machine gun. It was designed by Richard Jordan Gatling and introduced in the American Civil War. It saw service up to World War I. It was originally chambered in a paper cartridge and fed via a hopper. Richard Gatling initially made it as a deterrent to war, but we all know how that ended up. Some people like to call it the world's first machine gun, but I think the first true machine gun was the Maxim gun. Speaking of Maxim gun, like I said, I think this is the first true machine gun. The Maxim was originally created by Hiram Maxim all the way back in 1884. It had to be manned by a crew of 4 to 6 people. It was chambered in 303 British and had to be cooled with water and is at least considered the first automatic weapon. It first saw service in the colonization of Africa. The later Vickers guns were an improvement of the Maxim. Coil guns. Away from older guns, let's look at something a little more recent. I know it's not technically a firearm, but it's still pretty cool. A coil gun or a Gauss rifle is a thing that launches projectiles via coiled electromagnets. The reason why I haven't brought it up is that recently I've seen more of them become commercially available. For example, the A shotgun is a coil gun that launches metal discs. I thought this was pretty stinking cool. The Ludi SMG. When the UK started putting in harsh gun control laws, a man named Philip Ludi wasn't really having it. So, he made an open bolt SMG in his garage, named the Ludi. As any man would, he published the instructions on how to build this submachine gun. The UK government didn't really like it, and he was eventually jailed. Ever since, he and his SMG has been a symbol against government tyranny. Sadly, Philip passed away of cancer in 2011. STG-44. The STG-44 or MP-44 or Sworn Gewehr 44 is widely considered to be the first true assault rifle. It has a select fire, an intermediate cartridge, 7.92 by 33 Kurds, and a 30-round detachable box magazine. It had started service in Nazi Germany during World War II. After the war, it still saw service in East Germany. Another thing is that it was invented by the legendary Hugo Schmeisser, which leads us into our next century. Hugo Schmeisser. Hugo Schmeisser was born in 1884 Jena, Germany, and died in 1953. He is responsible for many famous World War II firearms such as the STG-44 and MP-40. He did create the first assault rifle and the first machine gun, or submachine gun, the MP-18. The MP-18 was used to storm the trenches of World War I by the German stormtroopers. Unfortunately, he had the role in the military production influenced some of the decisions of Adolf Hitler. Overall, Hugo is a legendary figure in the arms world. Winchester Model 1873. The gun that won the West was a marketing term that the Winchester went by in the late 1800s. It is the cowboy lever gun we all know and love. It was manufactured from 1873 to 1923. Chambered in .44 Winchester and 720,000 models were made. Flintlock. The flintlock was a form of gun operation in muskets or rifles where flint is used to ignite the gunpowder. The way a usual flintlock works is when a lead ball and gunpowder are poured down the barrel and pushed down with a ram. Pull back the hammer to half cock, open the frizzen, pour some powder there, close the frizzen, pull to the hammer full cock, and you're ready to fire. These styles of pistols, rifles, and long guns were used for a couple hundred years until it was replaced by the percussion cap. Some multi-barreled flintlocks were attempted, such as the pepper box, but couldn't be proved to be dangerous if all barrels were fired at the same time.
Yeah, I'm going to fire the musket.
LeMat revolver. The LeMat revolver is a New Orleans produced cap and ball revolver chambered in .42 or .36 caliber. It has the unusual feature of having a 20-gauge smoothbore shotgun under the main revolver barrel. It gained favor of Confederate officers during the American Civil War. It was heavy at the weight of 4 pounds, and it gained recognition over the years for being one of the strange weapons of the Civil War. Gyrojet. The gyrojets were a series of firearms that fired miniature rockets rather than typical bullets. The series included a pistol, carbine, and rifle, and a proposed machine gun. In the 1960s, it was marketed as a future-type weapon, but it never really went anywhere. The benefits the rockets had were low recoil and lightweight weapons, and that's about it. The ammunition was expensive, and the fuel the rockets were powered by could corrode over time. Arquebus. The arquebus was an early type of firearm that predates the musket. It may have formed in Europe in the 1400s. It used a lighted match to ignite the gunpowder. There was a heavy arquebus, or a musket, meant for penetrating armor. It was first used by the Ottomans. German Korpov. Born in the Soviet Union in 1913, he is known for his infamous and rather strange firearm designs. Sadly, these designs never went beyond prototype stages. During the first Russian assault rifle trials, he entered his TKB-408 design and lost to Mikhail Kalashnikov's AK-47. And ever since that day, he spent his whole life trying to get the AK replaced by his designs. But that never happened. even though we still have his designs like the TKB-59, a triple-barrel bullpup assault rifle. The TKB-579 is a sniper rifle that supposedly works so poorly people refuse to test it. The TKB-072 is a .545 by .39 caliber assault rifle that was supposed to be able to shoot from, quote, unorthodox positions, as the Gun Wiki puts it. Korbau's creative potential was wasted. All he had to do in order to beat the AK was to simplify it, make it even more reliable. Puckle gun. The Puckle gun was an early repeating firearm. It was invented by James Puckle, a lawyer, writer, and inventor. In 1718, it was a sight to behold, being able to shoot up to 9 rounds per minute. It was advertised for naval uses. The Puckle gun had 2 types of cylinders you could get. First being able to shoot normal round lead balls at a time, and the other being able to shoot square bullets. Those square bullets were meant for firing at Muslims. I don't have anything against Muslims, it's just the fact I want to bring up. The Puckle gun is still a cool part of firearm history. Spencer rifle. The Spencer rifle is considered to be the first gun to be fed through a magazine. It was put to use by the Union and the cavalry during the American Civil War. It had an external hammer chambered in a 13mm cartridge and could hold 7 rounds. It saw use in the Battle of Gettysburg. President Abraham Lincoln invited Christopher Spencer to the White House to show a demonstration of the rifle. Overall, an important part of gun history. Pedersen device. The Pedersen device was an experimental weapon that could convert the 1903 Springfield rifle to a .30 caliber semi-automatic weapon. It seemed cool on the drawing boards, but it had serious reliability problems. Fed by a 40-round magazine, it was meant to provide more firepower to individual soldiers on the battlefield. It was tested by the U.S. Army during World War I, and 65 units were made. Only a few actually survived. The Pedersen device shows how militaries were trying to use early semi-auto weapons. The first semi-automatic gun. The beginning of the semi-auto guns were probably started in the early 1890s with the Salvatore Dormouse. It was designed by Joseph Laumann. It was chambered in a 8mm caliber and loaded via clip. The pistol received a number of iterations until 1895. The Austrian military tested it, but it wasn't really accepted. The Krumlauf. The Krumlauf, I have no idea how to pronounce it, was a device made to attach the barrel of the STG-44 that could allow a soldier to shoot around corners. The device came in 30 degree, 45 degree, and 60 degree and 90 degree models, but only the 30 degree model ever saw somewhat significant production. The devices had a short service time with only 300 rounds put through them before they were thrown away. Oddly enough, a I model was made for the MG42. Knock volley gun. The knock gun was a smoothbore flintlock musket with 7 barrels. It was used by the British Royal Navy during the Napoleonic Wars on top of ships to fight other ships. They could prove to be very dangerous to shooters because of the intense recoil that was said to break shoulders. And if that wasn't enough, flying sparks could set the boat on fire. The volley gun was an interesting solution to providing individual more firepower at the time. Davy Crockett. This entry isn't referring to the frontiersmen, but rather the recoilless rifle that could shoot W-54 nuclear warheads. The weapon was developed during the Cold War, yet never saw service. The nuclear projectile weighed 76 pounds with a 520 feet instant kill radius and could severely affect others outside of that radius. The recoilless rifle itself had a 1.2 mile range and was remotely detonated. I guess this sums up the whole Cold War arms race thing. Duckfoot pistol. The duckfoot pistols were a style of pistol which had multiple barrels. The thought was to shoot multiple people at once. They are renowned today for their absurdness. Darted round. The darted round was a weird type of cartridge that was triangular in shape. The word rounds comes from the combination of triangular and round. It was used in magazine-fed revolvers, like darting models 1100, 1500, and 2000. The reason for these triangular rounds was that these rounds stacked in a magazine would take up 50% less space than regular rounds, but reliability problems with feed systems stunted the project. Electric-powered Gatling gun. When the Maxim gun came around in the 1890s, the Gatling gun fell out of favor. To revive the Gatling gun, people thought to attach electric motors to the gun's action. In 1893, Richard Gatling himself made a patent with a Gatling gun with an electric motor attached. The electric-powered beast was thought to fire up to 3,000 rounds per minute. The problem with this is in the late 1800s, electricity wasn't as readily available as it is today. And forget trying to take it anywhere. This would later inspire the modern miniguns we see today. Harmonica guns. Harmonica guns were a style of gun that had a clip that contained multiple rounds with percussion caps. Yes, I said clip, not magazine. Anyway, each chamber held the ammo, powder, and percussion cap. The earliest surviving model of a harmonica gun is from a Swiss inventor in 1742. Probably the most famous designer of harmonica guns was Jonathan Browning, the father of John Moses Browning, the most influential gun designer ever. The harmonica guns are a fascinating example of early repeating firearms. Unknown firearms. Undoubtedly, with over 1,000 years of firearm history, there have been guns that have been completely forgotten by history. Prototype firearms have been destroyed, blueprints that were burned, and guns with unknown origins, all of which prove that we must preserve firearm history. The first gun. So, it's kind of hard to pinpoint the exact origins of firearms, but the invention of black powder can be traced down to ancient China. First used as a medicine, then it saw use in fireworks and eventually warfare. The earliest firearm was a fire lance, a hollowed out piece of bamboo that was filled with gunpowder and used as a flamethrower. Sometimes shrapnel was thrown in the tube for extra pizzazz. Eventually, the bamboo tubes were replaced with metal ones when gunpowder became more powerful. Later, it was brought to the Middle East and used against the Mongols in the 1200s. The Ottomans sometime later started using guns as well. How black powder made it to Europe was via the Silk Road. Around the late 1300s, hand cannons emerged. The hand cannon was a metal tube filled with gunpowder and a projectile with a touch hole. A burning piece of rope was put on the touch hole and ignited the powder, sending a lethal projectile out the barrel. Eventually, the burning rope would be attached to the gun and was released via lever or trigger. There is so much more to the beginning of firearms than the surface. So, that was a Firearm Iceberg. I hope you enjoyed. If you didn't like it, I don't really care. And, yeah. I've been working on this video for about a month. It's something I've been wanting to make for a while. And, yeah, now it's done. So, yeah.